you beautiful people, welcome back to our series of top 10 lists. I'm Court McGinley. Today we have the top 10 list of the scariest places in the world. Clearly this list is going to be that of fairies and unicorns. No, it's really not. It's gonna be one of those spooky lists. But before we start off on this list of places you should never go, I wanna know, where is the scariest place you've ever been? Let me know down below. Starting off at our number 10 spot, we have Alcatraz Island. And for those of you who don't know, Alcatraz is located in San Francisco Bay. This was a federal prison between 1933 and 1963. However, beginning in November 1969, the island was occupied for over a year and a half by a group of Aboriginal people that were part of a native activist group. In 1972, Alcatraz became a national recreation area, and in 1986, it was declared a National Historic Landmark. Today, this abandoned prison is open to the public for tours. During its 29 years of operation, this prison was designed to hold prisoners who continuously caused problems at other federal prisons. This prison was known for holding some of the most notorious criminals in American history, such as Al Capone, Robert Franklin Strode, George Machine Gun Kelly, and Alvin Creeper Caprice, who just so happened to serve the most time at Alcatraz than any other inmate. In at number 9, we have the Island of Dolls. Ooh, this one kind of sounds like a happy place. I mean, an island full of cute little dolls, what could be wrong with that? Well, let's put it this way, these dolls, they're not so cute. This place is located in Mexico City and has become a pretty popular place for tourists. But I'm gonna be honest with you, it pretty much looks like the set of a kids horror slasher movie. All over the area's many canals, there are hundreds of doll heads and doll parts that are hanging from trees and scattered all over the grass. It is said that a little girl died on this island and her body was found in a nearby canal, on the property of a man named Julian Santa Barrera. He would collect these dolls and display them in the trees, hoping to ward off the spirit of this little girl. He has since then passed away, and some people are noticing that more and more doll heads and body parts keep popping up. So many people say that this is actually the little girl and that her spirit is hanging around, having these trees grow these additional doll heads like leaves from out of their branches. Coming in at our number 8 spot, we have Fire Mummies of the Philippines. To get to the Timbuk Caves, you need to take a 5-hour car ride up the mountains. After that, you need to spend several more hours hiking up a bunch of stone steps. Yeah, so this is quite the process, but if you're into this kind of thing, then it's worth it. Once you get there, you will see the well-preserved mummies curled up in a fetal position, in their original egg-shaped coffins. Scientists believe that these mummies were first created back between the 1200 and 1500 CE. What makes these mummies unique is how they were made. Shortly before a person died, they had to drink something with a lot of salt in it. Their body was then washed and set over a fire. Then tobacco smoke was blown into the mouth to dry up the internal organs. Then finally herbs were rubbed all over the body. Then they were buried in caves. Today the mummies are still in the caves with very little security. And at number 7 we have the Chapel of Bones in Portugal. This is a 16th century chapel that is decorated with bones, skulls, and entire bodies that hang from the wall. By the 16th century there were 43 cemeteries that were taking up quite a lot of land. So monks decided to build a chapel and relocate the bones in order to get some extra land, but at the same time allowing the souls that were buried there to remain at peace. The number of skeletons of monks were calculated to be around 5,000. Inside, human bones and skulls completely cover the chapel's pillars and walls. However, the bones of the monks who assembled the chapel are not on display, but they are kept in a small white coffin in the chapel. Legend has it that the bones lining the walls are those of soldiers of a major battle. And at number 6 we have Snake Island. So if you couldn't guess it from this title, this island, yeah, it's overpopulated with snakes. This island is located about 90 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo, and it is one of the most dangerous islands in the entire world. Quite some time ago, this island separated from the mainland when sea levels rose, which caused these newly isolated snakes to become hyper-evolved and, to be quite honest, pretty terrifying. Now when I say this island is overpopulated by these slithering snakes, I wasn't kidding. There's about a 1 to 5 snakes per square meter on the island, and they are all golden lacehead vipers, which just so happens to be the most venomous snake in the world. Since the snakes have taken over, this island has become abandoned and the snakes have no ground level prey. So they have learned to hunt in the treetops and strike at birds as they are flying by in the air. Final people to live on this island were the lighthouse keeper and his family members, and they were killed by the snakes. And at number 5 we have the Bell Witch Cave. This cave, it's extremely dark, extremely scary, and you know, well, it's cursed. This cave is 490 feet long and it is privately owned. This cave is located in Tennessee near the Bell family farm. And the whole family, well, they were killed inside this cave. In 1804, the Bell family moved into their house. And for the first 13 years, you know, everything was fine. However, after that, the family began to see strange looking animals around the property. Not only that, but they would also hear knocking sounds on the doors and the outer walls of the house late at night. And soon they began to hear noises coming from inside the house. Once word got around to the neighbors, they started to believe that this was a ghost of an old accused witch named Kate. Over the next 3 years, Kate tormented the members of the Bell family almost daily. On December 20th, 1920, John Bell had died in the cave. It is believed that he was poisoned by Kate, and it is said that Kate's spirit is still hanging around. and many townspeople believe this to be true, which is why they choose to buy and rent their houses miles away from the cave. Coming in at number 4, we have the Catacombs of Paris. In a small part of the ancient mines of the Paris tunnel network lay the remains of roughly 6 million people. So you might be wondering, how did all these bodies end up underground? Well, at the time, city officials were facing 2 problems. The first one being a series of cave-ins that were happening, and the second one being that cemeteries had ran out of room. So between 1786 and 1788, the remains from the cemetery were transferred to the reinforced tunnels. And for several years, they would continue to dump the remains down there. My best friend went to see this 3 years ago, and she said it was one of the most scariest and craziest things she's ever seen. And at number 3, we have the Suicide Forest in Japan, also known as Aokigahara. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said that one wrong. But some of the other names that this island goes by is Suicide Forest or the Sea of Trees. So with names like these, it's pretty obvious this is a place you don't want to go. And it is located at Mount Fuji's northwest base in Japan. In this forest, there are a lot of rocky ice caverns. So aside from being the most popular place to commit suicide in Japan, it is also among the top 3 in the world. In 2003, it had one of the highest body counts to date, with 150 bodies being found. Then in 2010, an estimated 200 people attempted suicide, but only 54 people committed the act. The most popular means of suicide in the forest are hanging from a tree or overdosing on drugs. And at number 2, we have Poveglia Island, aka the most haunted island in all of the world. And this tiny island, it's seen a lot of things throughout its time. It's been a quarantine station, a dumping ground for plague victims, and most recently a mental hospital. So many people were burned and buried there during the Black Plague that the soil is actually 50% human ash. Currently, this island is unoccupied. All that remains are a bunch of abandoned buildings and weeds. In April 2014, it was announced that the spooky island would be going up for auction. The reason for this is to help reduce Italy's soaring debt. A brave Italian businessman named Luigi Bravonero won this auction with his bid of $704,000. What he plans on doing with this island, well, we're not really sure. Alright, so you gotta be honest, we talked about some pretty creepy stuff, but coming in at our number 1 spot, it's the scariest. Coming in at our number 1 spot of scariest places in the world, we have the Capuchin Catacombs in Palermo. Out of all of the catacombs in the world, this one located in Sicily, it has to be the scariest. This burial ground was created out of necessity back in the late 16th century, once the cemetery above ground was full. Originally, this was meant to be a resting place for only religious men. However, once word got around about this natural mummification process that took place, it soon became a status symbol for the locals to earn a final resting spot. And because of this, the underground tombs now contain around 8,000 bodies, all divided into separate corridors, including one for children, one for professional men, and one for religious figures, and finally, one for virgins. These corpses are actually displayed by being hung up on the walls, like a museum exhibit in a variety of outfits. Back in the late 1920s, one of the most recent additions was a 2-year-old girl named Rosalita, and she's in a little box with a glass window, and she's amazingly well preserved. She actually looks like a doll. It's pretty crazy. Well, there you have it, our list of top 10 scariest places in the world. Let me know below which one you found the scariest, and also let me know which top 10 list you want to see me do next. That's all I have for you guys, and I will see you in the next video. So make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends and family. We have more top 10s right over here, and you guys can follow me on Instagram at CourtMcGinley.